The crystal halls of the Zephyrian High Command buzzed with the low hum of translated conversations. Admiral Kethver adjusted his ceremonial armor plates as he reviewed the holographic displays floating before his 6 eyes. The data was clear, comprehensive, and according to his analysts, completely reliable. "The humans call their planet Earth," reported his chief intelligence officer, a slender Altarian whose silver skin gleamed under the artificial lights. "Population approximately 8 billion. They have achieved basic spaceflight but remain confined to their solar system. Most importantly, Admiral, our psychological profiles indicate they are naturally conflict-averse." Admiral Kethver's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. After 300 years of expanding the Zephyrian Empire across 47 star systems, he had learned to identify easy conquests. The humans showed every sign of being another simple addition to their growing collection of subject species. "Their military capabilities?" he asked, though the answer seemed obvious from the primitive spacecraft detected around their world. "Laughable by our standards. They fight among themselves with chemical projectiles and crude explosives. No energy weapons? No shields. No faster-than-light capabilities. Their largest military vessels cannot even leave their atmosphere." The intelligence officer paused his presentation. "However, there is one curious anomaly in their psychological makeup." "Explain." "While generally peaceful, they have produced some individuals with concerning tactical abilities. But these appear to be rare exceptions. Our xenopsychologists believe the species as a whole suffers from what they term conflict anxiety. They actively avoid warfare when possible." Admiral Kethver's forearms spread wide in a gesture of dismissal. "Typical prey species behavior. They know instinctively that they cannot compete with true warriors." He turned to address the assembled fleet commanders. "We will follow standard protocol. A single battle group should suffice. Demand surrender, demonstrate superior firepower, accept their submission. The humans will likely capitulate before we need to fire a shot." The other officers buzzed their agreement. The Zephyrian military had perfected this approach over centuries. Most species, when faced with the overwhelming technological superiority of the Empire, chose submission over annihilation. It was logical, efficient, and preserved useful populations for integration into the Imperial workforce. 3 weeks later, the Zephyrian 3rd Battle Group dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sovereign's Wrath, watching as his senses painted a detailed picture of human civilization. Countless satellites orbited their world. Space stations clustered around their moon. Mining operations stretched across their asteroid belt. "Impressive for primitives," admitted Commander Zelthic from his position at the tactical station. "They are more industrious than our reports suggested." "Industry without military application is merely productivity," Admiral Kethver replied. "Hail their leadership. Let us end this quickly." The communications officer established contact with something the humans called the United Nations. Within an hour, Admiral Kethver found himself speaking to a collection of human representatives via holographic transmission. They were a diverse species, he noted, with varying skin tones and facial structures. All appeared appropriately nervous. "People of Earth," Admiral Kethver began, using the formal conquest speech he had delivered 46 times before. "I am Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world now falls under Imperial jurisdiction. You will surrender all military assets and submit to Imperial governance. Compliance will ensure your species' survival and integration into our civilization. Resistance will result in orbital bombardment and occupation by force." The humans exchanged glances among themselves. Their leader, a gray-haired female who identified herself as Secretary General Martinez, spoke carefully. "Admiral, we appreciate your directness. However, humanity requires time to consider such a significant decision. We request 48 hours to consult with our global governments." Admiral Kethver's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "You have 12 hours. Choose wisely." When the transmission ended, Commander Zelthic approached his superior. Admiral, our long-range sensors have detected some unusual activity in their outer system. Several small craft are moving toward our position, but at sublight speeds. They pose no threat. Scout ships, most likely. Let them observe our fleet's power. Fear will make them more cooperative. But as the hours passed, Admiral Kethver began to feel the first stirrings of unease. The human ships were not behaving like scout vessels. They moved with purpose, taking positions that seemed almost tactical. Moreover, human military installations across their planet had gone dark, disappearing from his sensors entirely. "Sir?" called the sensor operator, her voice tight with confusion. "I'm detecting massive power signatures throughout their system. It's as if they're activating hidden installations." "Show me." The main display shifted to show the solar system in tactical overview. Dozens of new contacts appeared, revealing themselves as the humans dropped whatever stealth technology they had been using. Weapons platforms emerged from asteroid bases. Battle stations uncloaked near gas giant moons. Most disturbing of all, the approaching ships began to accelerate far beyond what their visible propulsion systems should have allowed. "How is this possible?" Admiral Kethver demanded. Our intelligence indicated they lacked advanced technology. Before anyone could answer, the communications console chimed. Secretary General Martinez appeared on screen again, but this time she was not alone. Beside her stood a tall, lean human male in a dark uniform. His eyes were cold, calculating, and completely unafraid. "Admiral Kethver," the Secretary General said, "we have reached our decision. Allow me to introduce General Jackson Hayes, United States Strategic Command. He will be handling our response to your offer." General Hayes stepped forward, his posture relaxed but somehow predatory. When he spoke, his voice carried the flat, emotionless tone of someone accustomed to life-and-death decisions. "Admiral, let me be clear about humanity's position. We have no intention of surrendering. We have no intention of submitting to alien rule. We have every intention of defending our world with whatever means necessary." He paused, studying Admiral Kethver through the transmission. "I understand your empire believes humans fear war. That assessment is incorrect. We don't fear war, Admiral. We just prefer to win it quickly." Admiral Kethver's four eyes narrowed. "General, you face a battle group of 12 dreadnoughts, 36 cruisers, and 72 destroyers. Our technology is centuries beyond yours. Surrender now, and your species will be treated with mercy." General Hayes' expression didn't change. "Admiral, you face a species that has spent its entire history perfecting the art of killing. We've had over 10,000 years of continuous warfare to develop our techniques. We've weaponized everything from sharp sticks to nuclear fusion. We've fought with honor and without it. We've won through superior technology and through superior ruthlessness." He leaned forward slightly. "You have 1 hour to leave our system. After that, we'll consider your presence an act of war." The transmission cut. Commander Zelthick moved to stand beside his admiral. "Sir, they're bluffing." "They must be. Our ships are individually more powerful than anything in their fleet." Admiral Kethver studied the tactical display with growing concern. The human ships had formed into small, fast-moving formations that defied conventional fleet doctrine. Instead of massing for a decisive battle, they had spread throughout the system in what appeared to be ambush positions. "Sir," the sensor operator called urgently, "I'm detecting multiple missile launches from their planet. Thousands of them." "Primitive chemical rockets?" Commander Zelthick scoffed. "They cannot penetrate our shields." But as the minutes passed and Admiral Kethver watched the tactical display, he began to understand that these humans had not spent their intelligence briefings studying Zephyrian technology for nothing. The missiles were not aimed at his ships. Instead, they were positioning themselves throughout the solar system, creating what appeared to be a three-dimensional minefield. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a narrow beam transmission from the lead human vessel. On screen." General Hayes appeared again, but this time he was clearly aboard a warship. Behind him, Admiral Kethver could see human crew members working at stations with calm efficiency. Admiral Kethver, your hour is almost up. I wanted to give you one final opportunity to reconsider your position. The general's voice remained utterly calm. You should know that every weapon platform you see represents decades of preparation. We've been expecting visitors like you for quite some time. Impossible, Admiral Kethver replied. You have no faster-than-light communication. How could you have known of our empire? General Hayes smiled, and Admiral Kethver felt his blood chill. It was not a friendly expression. It was the smile of a predator that had already selected its prey. Admiral, we've been listening to your empire's communications for over 50 years. Did you really think a civilization that spans dozens of star systems wouldn't generate detectable radio traffic? The general's smile widened. We know your ship designs. We know your weapons capabilities. Admiral Kethver's flagship drifted powerless in the cold vacuum of space, its hull scarred by dozens of kinetic impacts. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as his surviving crew worked frantically to restore basic systems. Around them, the once mighty Zephyrian 3rd Battle Group lay in ruins. Casualty report, Admiral Kethver ordered, his voice hoarse from breathing the acrid smoke that filled the bridge. Commander Zelthic consulted his damaged console, his silver skin now gray with shock. 7 dreadnoughts destroyed, 3 disabled including ours. 28 cruisers lost, 5 heavily damaged. 51 destroyers eliminated, 12 barely functional. He paused, struggling with the numbers. Admiral, we've lost 70% of the battle group in less than 6 hours. The magnitude of the disaster settled over the bridge like a suffocating blanket. In 300 years of imperial expansion, the Zephyrian military had never suffered losses approaching this scale. Not against the crystalline Sindari with their energy weapons. Not against the mechanical Vorthan with their autonomous war fleets. Not against any of the 47 species that had fallen before imperial might. How? Admiral Kethver asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. They fought like ... Commander Zelthic struggled for words. Like nothing we've ever encountered. No honor, no glory. Just efficiency. Pure, terrifying efficiency. Through the bridge's cracked viewports, Admiral Kethver could see human ships moving among the wreckage of his fleet. They were not looting or claiming trophies as a warrior species might. Instead, they appeared to be conducting some form of analysis, their sensors scanning every piece of debris with methodical precision. Sir, the communications officer called weakly. We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander. General Hayes appeared on the flickering main screen, but now Admiral Kethver could see him more clearly. The human was older than he had first appeared, with silver hair and lines around his eyes that spoke of decades spent making impossible decisions. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with quiet activity as human officers coordinated the aftermath of battle with the same clinical efficiency they had shown during the fighting. Admiral Kethver, General Hayes said, his tone conversational despite the carnage surrounding them. I trust you're beginning to understand your situation. You fight without honor, Admiral Kethver replied, his mandibles clicking with rage. This was not warfare. This was slaughter. General Hayes tilted his head slightly as if considering the accusation. Admiral, let me share something about human military philosophy. We don't fight for honor. We don't fight for glory. We don't fight to prove our courage or demonstrate our superiority. His eyes hardened. We fight to win. Everything else is luxury we can't afford. Your tactics are those of cowards and assassins. Our tactics are those of survivors. General Hayes leaned back in his command chair. Admiral, your empire has conquered 47 star systems. That's impressive. But do you know how many wars humanity has fought? Not against aliens, just against ourselves. Admiral Kethver remained silent. Roughly 15,000 major conflicts in recorded history. Everything from tribal raids to global wars that consumed entire continents. We fought with spears and nuclear weapons. We fought for territory, resources, ideology, and sometimes just because we were bored. General Hayes paused. Every one of those wars taught us something. Every defeat made us smarter. Every victory showed us new weaknesses to exploit. On the tactical display, Admiral Kethfer watched human ships taking up positions around his disabled vessels. They moved with the coordinated precision of a pack of hunters, maintaining perfect fields of fire while staying outside the range of any remaining Zephyrian weapons. "Admiral," General Hayes continued, "your empire fights the way civilized species fight. You rely on superior technology and overwhelming force. You expect your enemies to meet you in honorable battle and accept defeat gracefully when outmatched." The human smiled that predatory smile again. "That's not how humans learn to fight. We learn to fight dirty. We learn to use every advantage, exploit every weakness, and ignore every rule that didn't help us survive." "What do you want?" Admiral Kethfer asked through clenched mandibles. "I want you to send a message to your emperor. Tell him exactly what happened here. Tell him that humanity is not a species he wants to conquer." General Hayes leaned forward. "And tell him that if he sends another fleet to our system, the outcome will be worse for your people than this one was." The transmission cut, leaving Admiral Kethfer staring at the blank screen. Around him, his officers worked to restore communications with the imperial capital. It took nearly 18 hours to establish contact through their damaged systems. Emperor Vashtak's image filled the screen with an imposing presence that had intimidated subjects across half the galaxy. His massive form, encased in ceremonial armor that marked him as both warrior and ruler, dominated the transmission. "Admiral Kethfer," the Emperor's voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Your reports indicate significant losses. Explain." For the next hour, Admiral Kethfer provided a detailed account of the engagement. He described the humans' deceptive capabilities, their asymmetric tactics, and their apparent long-term preparation for alien contact. He explained how they had turned the Zephyrians' technological advantages against them and fought with a ruthlessness that bordered on the psychotic. Emperor Vashtak listened without interruption, his 6 eyes never leaving Admiral Kethfer's face. When the report concluded, the Emperor was silent for several minutes. "You are telling me," the Emperor finally said, "that a primitive species with no faster-than-light capability destroyed 70% of a battle group using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare?" "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty." "And their leader, this General Hayes, threatened worse consequences if we return?" "Yes, Emperor." Emperor Vashtak's mandibles clicked in what Admiral Kethfer recognized as imperial rage. "Admiral, in 300 years of expansion, the Zephyrian Empire has never retreated from a primitive world. We have never allowed threats from lesser species to go unanswered. We have never shown weakness before our subjects." Admiral Kethfer felt his heart sink. He had hoped the Emperor would recognize the unique threat humanity represented. Instead, imperial pride was about to make the situation catastrophically worse. "You will establish a defensive perimeter at the edge of their system," Emperor Vashtak commanded. "The 2nd, 4th, and 7th fleets will join you within 1 month. We will show these humans what happens when primitives dare to challenge imperial authority." "Emperor, with respect, I believe that would be a mistake. These humans are unlike any enemy we have faced. They have been preparing for this conflict for decades. Their technology may appear primitive, but they are using it in ways our strategists never anticipated. They fight wars the way we conduct executions, with complete disregard for anything except achieving their objective." "Admiral," the Emperor's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, "are you suggesting that the Zephyrian Empire should fear a single primitive world?" "I am suggesting, Emperor, that we might want to consider what General Hayes said. Perhaps humanity is not a species we want to conquer." The Emperor's image flickered with rage. "Admiral Kethfer, you will hold position and await reinforcements. When our combined fleets arrive, you will lead the assault on their homeworld. We will demonstrate to every species in the galaxy what happens to those who resist imperial authority." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kethfer alone with his fears. He understood better than anyone what his Emperor could not grasp. The humans had not simply defeated a Zephyrian battle group through luck or accident. They had systematically destroyed it using carefully planned tactics developed over decades of preparation. While Admiral Keffer's engineers worked to repair his fleet. Human ships maintained their positions around the edge of the engagement zone. They made no aggressive moves, but their sensors never stopped scanning. Their weapons never powered down, and their communications networks buzzed with constant activity. 3 weeks into the standoff, something changed in the human deployment. Their ships began moving in patterns that Admiral Keffer's tactical computer could not analyze. They appeared to be constructing something in space, but his damaged sensors could not determine what. "Sir," his sensor operator reported, "the humans are requesting communication." General Hayes appeared on screen once again, but this time he was not alone. Beside him stood other humans in different uniforms, representing what appeared to be various branches of their military. "Admiral Keffer," General Hayes said, "our intelligence indicates your Emperor is sending reinforcements. 3 full fleets, according to our intercepts." Admiral Keffer said nothing, but his shock was obvious. How had the humans intercepted Imperial communications? "Admiral," General Hayes continued, "I want to be very clear about something. When those fleets arrive, they're not going to face the same kind of engagement you just survived. What happened to your battle group was our defensive response designed to protect our world with minimal loss of human life." The general's expression grew harder. "When your Emperor sends fleets to attack our home, he will face." Emperor Vashtok stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching as 3 complete Imperial fleets dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. Around him, the greatest military minds of the Zephyrian Empire coordinated the largest combat operation in Imperial history: 216 capital ships, 800 cruisers, over 1,500 destroyers and support vessels. Nearly 3 million Imperial personnel armed with technology that had subjugated dozens of worlds. The assembled firepower could reduce entire planets to rubble within hours. "Admiral Keffer reports from his position," announced Fleet Commander Thexenol. "His damaged ships have been integrated into our defensive screen. The humans maintain their positions but show no aggressive movement." Emperor Vashtok studied the tactical display with satisfaction. After a month of preparation, his fleets had arrived with overwhelming superiority. No species in the galaxy could withstand this level of coordinated force. "What is the status of human military deployments?" he asked. "Unchanged since Admiral Keffer's engagement, Emperor. Approximately 200 vessels of varying sizes, spread throughout their system in defensive formations. They appear to be waiting. Waiting for what?" Before Fleet Commander Thexenol could respond, the communications station erupted in urgent alerts. "Emperor, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Display it." General Hayes appeared on the main screen, but he was no longer aboard a ship. Behind him stretched what appeared to be a massive command center carved into solid rock, filled with hundreds of human personnel operating equipment that hummed with barely contained energy. "Emperor Vashtok," General Hayes said, his voice carrying across 3 light years without the slightest trace of fear or deference. "Welcome to our solar system. I see you brought friends." Emperor Vashtok stepped forward, his massive form radiating Imperial authority. "General Hayes, you face 3 full Imperial fleets. Your single world cannot possibly resist this force. I offer you one final opportunity to surrender." General Hayes was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke again, his tone carried a sadness that Emperor Vashtok found unsettling. "Emperor, 72 hours ago I gave Admiral Keffer a message for you. Did he deliver it? He informed me of your threats. I chose to ignore them. That's unfortunate." General Hayes turned to address someone off-screen. "Dr. Chun, please bring the Emperor up to speed on our preparations." Dr. Sarah Chun stepped into view, carrying a tablet that displayed information Emperor Vashtok couldn't decipher from the transmission. Her manner was clinical, professional, and completely devoid of any recognition that she was addressing the ruler of a galactic empire. "Emperor Vashtok," she said, "for the past month, while you were assembling your fleets, we have been preparing the system for total warfare. Would you like to see what that looks like?" Before Emperor Vashtak could respond, Dr. Chun gestured to someone off-screen. Activate Perimeter Defense Grid Alpha. Throughout the solar system, massive installations that had remained hidden behind sophisticated camouflage suddenly revealed themselves. Weapons platforms emerged from asteroid belts. Battle stations decloaked near gas giants. Most terrifying of all, the space around Earth itself came alive with defensive structures that defied every principle of engineering. Emperor Vashtak understood. Impossible, whispered Fleet Commander Thexenal. Our sensors detected nothing of this magnitude. Dr. Chung consulted her tablet. Emperor, these installations represent 50 years of continuous construction, using materials harvested from every body in our solar system. Each platform is equipped with weapons specifically designed to counter Imperial technology. She looked up from her tablet. But that's just our defensive grid. General Hayes stepped forward again. Emperor, Dr. Chun's people have spent decades studying every aspect of your empire's military capabilities. We know how your ships work. We know how your weapons function. We know how your shields operate. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Most importantly, we know how to kill them all. Emperor Vashtak's rage finally overwhelmed his shock. You dare threaten the Zephyrian Empire? We have conquered worlds when your species was still primitive. We will reduce your planet to ash. Emperor, General Hayes said quietly, you still don't understand what you're facing. Allow me to show you. The human command center around General Hayes suddenly filled with activity as dozens of technicians began coordinating what appeared to be a massive operation. Status displays throughout the facility showed systems coming online, power levels rising, and weapon systems achieving ready status. Dr. Chun, General Hayes said without taking his eyes off Emperor Vashtak, please demonstrate Tactical Package 7. Yes, General. Activating Sol Lance Array? Emperor Vashtak watched in growing horror as something emerged from the shadow of Earth's moon. It was massive, easily the size of one of his dreadnoughts, but it moved with impossible precision. Most terrifying of all, it appeared to be focusing energy on a scale that his sensors could barely measure. Emperor, Dr. Chun said conversationally, the Sol Lance Array uses our star's energy output focused through a series of gravitational lenses. It's capable of delivering approximately 47 terawatts of concentrated solar energy to any point within our system. She paused. Would you like us to demonstrate on one of your ships? You cannot harness stellar energy. Fleet Commander Thexenal protested. No species has that capability. Dr. Chun smiled with the same terrifying expression General Hayes had shown Admiral Kethver. Commander, you're thinking like a civilized species again. You're thinking about how to harness stellar energy efficiently, safely, with minimal environmental impact. Her smile widened. We don't care about efficiency or safety. We only care about effectiveness. Choose a target, Emperor, General Hayes said. Any ship in your fleet. We'll show you what happens when humans decide to stop playing defense. Emperor Vashtak stared at the display showing the impossible weapon floating near Earth's moon. Around him, his fleet commanders whispered urgently about energy readings that violated everything they understood about physics and engineering. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Admiral Kethver, General Hayes called. Are we bluffing? Admiral Kethver's image appeared in a smaller window on the screen. His appearance had deteriorated significantly since the Emperor had last seen him. The proud Imperial officer now looked haggard, defeated, and deeply frightened. Emperor, Admiral Kethver said urgently, you must listen to what they are telling you. These humans don't fight the way we understand warfare. They don't fight for honor or glory. They fight to completely destroy their enemies using any method necessary. His voice cracked with desperation. Emperor, please. Order the fleets to withdraw. I will not show weakness before a primitive species. General Hayes sighed heavily. Dr. Chun, please select target coordinates on the Eternal Dominion. General, Dr. Chun replied. Target acquired. Non-critical systems only as requested. Fire. What happened next redefined Emperor Veshtak's understanding of what was possible in the universe. A beam of concentrated solar energy, invisible to the naked eye but devastating to any matter it encountered, crossed the distance between Earth's moon and the Imperial flagship in less than a second. It struck the Eternal Dominion's shields with the power of a small star. The ship's defensive systems, designed to repel energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, simply ceased to exist. The beam punched through them as if they weren't there, vaporized a section of the ship's hull, and continued past into empty space. Emperor Vashtak found himself lying on the deck of his bridge, thrown there by the impact. Around him, his command staff struggled to restore systems that had been completely overwhelmed by energies beyond their comprehension. "Damage report," he roared. "Shields down. Hull breach on decks 15 through 20. All power systems offline in the forward sections." The damage control officer's voice was high with panic. "Emperor, if they had aimed that weapon at our reactor core, we would have been completely destroyed." General Hayes' voice echoed through the damaged bridge. "Emperor, that was our smallest tactical weapon. Would you like to see what our strategic systems can do?" Emperor Vashtak pulled himself back to his feet, his ceremonial armor cracked and smoking. For the first time in his long reign, he faced the possibility of complete defeat at the hands of a supposedly primitive species. "What do you want?" he asked. "Unconditional withdrawal of all Imperial forces from this system," General Hayes replied immediately. "Recognition of human sovereignty over our territory. And a non-aggression treaty that acknowledges our right to exist without Imperial interference." "And if I refuse?" Dr. Chin consulted her tablet again. "Emperor, we have 47 weapons platforms similar to the one you just experienced, but with significantly higher output capabilities. We also have kinetic bombardment systems that can accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. And we have some experimental weapons that I would prefer not to test on living targets." General Hayes stepped closer to the transmission pickup. "Emperor, let me be very clear about something. We don't want to conquer your empire. We don't want to rule over other species. We don't want to expand beyond our own system.